order. It's 5 p.m. on Monday, December 8th, 2025. This is the Public Works Committee for the City of Hudson, and we're going to start with roll call this evening. I, first of all, would like to call the roll of our council members. Is Mr. Kennedy here?
Here.
Thank you. And Ms. Brooke?
Here.
Thank you. And I am Joy Knutson. We all represent different districts within the City of Hudson, and we're assigned to the Public Works Committee. So this evening we have an agenda in front of us, but first I want to introduce, I always like to introduce our staff members that are here for anyone in the public that might like to know who's providing our input and expert advice. To the left of me is Aaron McPhee Anderson, who is the city engineer. To my right is Michael Mraz, who is the Director of Public Works and Parks for the city. And then we have Deb Andrews with us this evening, who is the Executive Assistant for the Public Works and Parks Department. And thank you all for your service and for being here tonight. First item of business is approval of minutes from our prior meeting. Our last meeting was on Tuesday, November 11th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those are approved. Thank you. Our next item is this, we have the mic open now for comments or suggestions from the public, but seeing that no one is present, this is an opportunity for anyone that's a resident or property owner in Hudson to come forward to address any topics that our committee particularly or the staff that's present here addresses. And so you're always welcome to come to our meeting. We'll move on since no one is present. New business. The first item is 5A, discussion and possible action of the 2027 Locust Street reconstruction, request for proposal or RFP for final design services.
Yes,
and
thank you.
I'll let our city engineer take that.
Yep, it's a long subject line. Sorry about that. So this item is for Locust Street. We are planning to reconstruct the full roadway from 1st Street to 3rd Street in 2027. And so we this year have been going through a lot of public engagement and some preliminary design. And so this RFP is to put it out there to engineering firms to do the final design. So this will really be diving into the construction plans and specifications and kind of the nitty-gritty details of everything. And so this item is just to approve essentially the concept of hiring an engineering firm to do this work for us. And we will give them till January, then hopefully we'll get some proposals, and that's when we would look to approve hiring an actual consultant with the fee that they propose.
Okay.
And just for some background, Aaron, can you just explain to Public Works Committee members why you're going out for services instead of doing them in-house, just to kind of clarify that? This project is pretty extensive. So a downtown project is like you have to look at everything very closely. It's a lot of detail in like urban design. So there's some services that we just don't even provide. So it's a lot more diving into. You're really spending a lot of time, and we just, like with the staff we have, which is me and one other person, we just don't have the time to like dive into those details and don't necessarily have the expertise for like a downtown type project.
Move to approve the RFP for Locust Street final design services.
Second.
Is there any discussion? We have a motion and a second. I would just like to ask, have you clarify again, just partly for the public, because there's reference here to, and not everyone's been tuning in for months.
Yes.
It is something that our committee has discussed on numerous times. Could you tell us a little bit about the committee that you've been working with?
Yeah, so
with some of this overview.
Yeah, so we've been working with an engineer, so we've kind of gone out with a survey. We've had one ad hoc committee meeting, and we do plan to do another survey, get it out hopefully actually this month, like pretty soon here, and then meet with the ad hoc again. So that committee had a really good discussion about where we were going with the concepts. Right now, I guess I will note, it's listed in here as an alternate just to the proposal. But one of the concepts that is looking to kind of be the top contender is converting Locust into a one-way. And so the ad hoc committee supported that for the most part, and the first survey public engagement meeting we had also supported that. So that could be the direction we go with the final design. And so just want everyone to be aware, you know, they've done a traffic study on it, and we are looking to potentially, we would convert that earlier in 2027 as like what we would call pilot to permanent. So potentially, if that is the direction we go for with the one-way, that we would try to implement that with some signing and striping before construction and just kind of see how it functions and kind of get everyone used to it. If there's any fatal flaws, we can always, you know, go back to a two-way, but that is the bigger change that we would potentially make.
And it's one way from Third to First.
Yeah, so just a two-block, one-way, and going diverging directions, I guess, from Second Street.
And is that a standard, I mean, that's an interesting idea, which I have to wrap my head around a little bit. Is that useful and successful? I mean, that's your profession, is civil engineering.
Yeah.
That is something that works. People, once they learn the pattern,
Yeah.
if I want to go this direction, I need to aim a different.
Yeah, I think
Or-
that,
no.
one-ways are very common. I think, like you said, once people get used to it, I think it kind of becomes the norm. And you don't, and I think right now with the safety advantages to it, I think that is kind of the main driver of it.
Okay.
So.
That be able to provide more pedestrian access?
A
on the
little,
street?
yeah, it helps with pedestrian, but also even looking more detailed at like the crash analysis. There's crashes of people trying to take a left onto Second from Locust or trying to cross Locust.
I personally never go to that
Right,
intersection
and
for
I
that
think
reason.
a lot of the talk has been where
terrible.
people don't
Yeah.
do those movements anyways, so it
I avoid
really
that
might,
corner.
it kind of is dependent on the situation, and this seems like a
Looks like the
situation where
flow.
people are already kind of making, like decide, the people that know are doing it that way.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
I have one other question for you.
Yeah.
In your career in civil engineering, have you ever made plans to replace a pipe that's from 1888?
You know, a lot of the time, I feel like that's more in the downtown, so I don't know if I've done one
About
that's
historic
that
Hudson,
old.
right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at
Yeah.
140 year
Very
old.
old
It's
utilities.
time to get going and okay,
Yes.
so motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, therefore we are going out to bid, we're looking for proposals for an engineering design firm.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, 5B, discussion and possible action to approve the 2028 Hanley Road Trail improvements. Request for proposal for preliminary and final design services.
Yeah, so this will be a similar item, except for a different project. So this is the one we received the Carbon Reduction Program grant for, to construct a new trail along Hanley Road between Hagen and Namakagan Street. And so this RFP is also seeking a civil engineering firm to help with the preliminary and final design. And, you know, I did look at this in detail. I did a little bit of training. So about the implementation as far as the grant goes, all the requirements. So it's a federal grant. There's a lot of steps and I'll kind of say paperwork you have to do to comply with the federal process. And it was a lot, and they call it a non-traditional transportation project implementation. So the guidance from the state is a little less oversight than, say, like the grant we got for 11th Street. So with me personally not having a lot of experience with like delivering grant projects like in Wisconsin, I just really felt like it would be important for us to just hire a consultant firm that knows this process and can really stick with the timeline for the environmental process and public engagement and all the a lot of steps go into it. And so we, put a lot of thought in this one, and I think this is the best approach just to make sure the project has no hiccups. So this is for the design, which should be pretty straightforward design-wise. It's just kind of all the extra steps you have to go through with getting the grant.
To satisfy.
Yeah.
And do I remember correctly, and again, I know your work and your design, your partner here, the other engineer and our
Yep.
staff, worked to get this grant.
Yes.
For the
Yep.
city.
Yes.
And we have to pay for all of the design process?
Yes. Yep, we do.
But then only 20% of construction? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yep, that's correct. So, yeah, so we're getting a good chunk of money, about a little over $1 million, and so, yeah, but even we're putting in our own money for design, and we kind of account for consultant design when we're doing just like CIP planning and stuff, so it fits right in with like the CIP.
Sure. So it's in the budget for this year?
Yeah, it's already, we already budget for engineering.
So like, we don't know what, that's why we're going out for a bid to see what the cost would be?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Any other comments, questions?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Keeping you busy here, Erin. I think
Yes.
the next one's your item also.
Yep.
Item 5C, discussion of retaining wall policies. So you're bringing
Yeah.
forward some, after working with the city, existing policies for a few
Yes.
years, you're seeing some areas that you're recommending changes.
Yes.
And it is fairly detailed, and I appreciate that we
Yes.
got this, and we probably all I need to study it more than I have
Oh,
here
yeah.
tonight.
Yep.
But let's start with an overview and get the high points to us, and we aren't necessarily taking action on a vote tonight,
Correct, yep.
unless anyone wants to. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is, like you said, this policy was newer too when I started, and so I think there was a lot of implementation of it that hadn't really been worked through, like when I started here, so kind of trying to figure that out. Just even the workload of some of it, it was something I wanted to bring up to discuss to just make it a little more, a little less of a burden, I guess, on city staff, and kind of like what should we be doing, should really be our responsibility. We even reached out to a few other like larger communities. You know, the retaining walls, I think, in a city sound like everyone kind of has issues.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a perfect process to like implement, or even there's just a lot of nuances with situations. And from my understanding before I got here, part of the retaining wall was triggered a little bit from like issues they had on the Second Street project. And so just trying to identify, ownership of walls and who pays for what, but some of it, and then obviously you can see the policy. It is a little bit tedious to read through. And so it's like trying to clean it up and simplify things from all points of view. And so my major discussion topics are that maybe I would like to hear some input if this is the direction everyone feels comfortable with. So right now, any retaining wall built in the city, whether it's completely on private property or next to the public right-of-way, is like triggered under this permit if it's over 3 feet or taller. So this could be a landscape wall that you want to put in your backyard and it's 3 feet or taller. You have to go through this process, which also means we internally have to spend time on it. And so we've just been running into a lot of like, is this necessary to be looking at and approving people's private property just from a lot of different angles? And so it didn't sound like it was a consistent thing in other cities. Some cities don't even have a retaining wall policy. Right. So sometimes it maybe falls on like the building department. And so in our case, it doesn't. Like our building department is completely separate from like retaining walls. Right. And so.
Yeah, because there's really we asked David Gray about this, and there's really no state building code related to retaining walls from what I gathered from him, or
there's like codes in the International Building Code,
Yeah.
but I guess it must not be something that you have to comply, like enforce, I guess.
Yes, we reached out to like Eau Claire, Menominee, River Falls, and like Aaron said, a lot of some of them didn't even have address retaining walls in any type of ordinance or policies. Eau Claire had a little bit of something, but even theirs was very vague.
Yep.
Ours was probably the most detailed out of
Yeah,
anybody
it honestly was.
Yeah, so by a long shot.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like you said, just trying to simplify it, making it easier on our staff, how much government oversight we want on it. Obviously, we're concerned about the ones in the right-of-way or adjacent to the right-of-way. But like I said, it's more of just an introduction. If you want to have more time to read through it, obviously, this is just kind of a step one in the process.
Yeah, so these aren't, detailed rewrites necessarily. It's also like, do we feel comfortable moving forward with that as an idea?
Are you saying that we didn't have a policy at all until the last, what,
Not
8 to
that
10
I know
years?
of.
Yeah, when Dean Chamberlain came here, and it was related to that work on Second
Yep.
Street is when we kind of got.
Sure, so there were so many questions.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
issues.
So it's like, all right, we got to get something down because there were a lot of questions that happened just because of the amount of retaining walls along that project. So he had reached out to various communities. I know Red Wing was one of them, and kind of had pulled this together. But then what Aaron was alluding to was like the policy has in there, private walls behind people's homes, and it's like, do we want to get into that? Is it, So, anyways, it's just, and maybe it's something that we need to discuss with the city attorney as well, maybe before the next time that we bring it forward, just kind of get his recommendations on it and what's appropriate, not appropriate for us to,
Right,
Have
oversee
oversight.
in the city.
yeah.
Any comments? I mean, Sarah, I know that was an issue that you had to work on quite a bit, but your constituents were affected by it with the Second Street.
Well, I need to really dive into this much
Yes.
deeper as
Yeah.
well. I did notice, and I'm probably, is it called gabion baskets? Is that it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it looks like we're going to remove those as,
That, we were gonna remove it, if the policy goes towards just approving them along the right-of-way, we were going to remove that type of wall, just
Okay.
specifically along the
right.
right-of-way.
That makes sense because
Yeah.
it's a little bit more, it's
It's,
more residential or something, I don't know,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit more of a casual look. to
yeah,
it.
yeah, right.
Yeah, okay.
And the desire for when it's completely on private property, that's
Yep.
more of a safety thing, right? The height and the
Yeah.
people falling off of them.
Yep, it is.
And you're not suggesting to limit how they're built, well, necessarily, the materials they're built from, if I'm reading this correctly. But, again, not that I think you turn how much government we want to
Yeah.
reach into this.
Yep.
It's not a controlling thing, but just like you have a deck, after 3 feet, you have to have a railing.
Yep,
So
it is true.
there are some reasons why the city might want to have a say in what happens on
Yes.
private property. for
Yeah, and
that reason.
it becomes a liability too against the city. Let's just say a resident submits an application for a permit, we release it. Obviously, if we're approving the drawings, and some of the drawings are on napkins, right? So to speak.
Yeah,
And we're saying, yeah, that's good to go, and then something happens if it's not
Right.
engineered or fails, or it's like, okay, well, the city said it was good. So we want to be very, very cautious of some of these situations.
yeah, there's been, like, part of the policy right now says you have to have engineered drawings over 3 feet. Well, someone doing some landscape walls, it's like a lot, and we've had a lot of pushback on it.
Yeah.
Like, people are hiring a landscaper to install a landscape wall, per manufacturer recommendations, I guess you could say, or their experience, and they're not engineers.
Right.
And so then it's like, you have to go out separately to get an engineer, And so that's one of the things we've kind of had to deal with. And like, from my perspective, I'm trying to go off the policy, and it's just been hard to kind of enforce, I guess.
Good discussion.
You're not suggesting
So-
that we would go back to not having a policy?
No, yeah, we're just saying we wanna, maybe it's better to focus our efforts, like, if it affects city property or is along the public
Sure.
right of way.
Sure.
And we can still, we could still have stuff, about private property if we want, but not necessarily that we're gonna be the ones inspecting it,
Right.
Yeah.
Correct, because if someone, for example, builds a fence, just a simple fence and gets a permit, does anyone go and inspect it from the city?
That I don't
No.
know, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
drive by, I mean, it's
Yeah,
possible that they
right.
do, I don't know.
right, yeah,
I mean,
exactly, yeah,
the,
it's a
Keeps
good
the staff
example.
very busy.
Right.
Want to provide guidance, I think it is nice if we have something that's readable and makes sense to a resident so that they can, if it's Saturday afternoon and they're trying to make plans to do a project or something, what can I do, what can't I do? If there's some guidance there, and then maybe they have to wait till Monday morning to call and
Right.
get an interpretation, but at least something that makes sense for them and that people would understand. So you're striking some things and adding some.
Yeah, so we're
verbiage.
striking, right now, proposing like kind of anything related to private property.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like Mike said, there could be reasons why we would want to have oversight, like a deck is similar in some cases, but that's where maybe we can discuss with our lawyer,
Yeah. I can
Yeah.
double
you know,
check
the
with Dave Green,
attorney,
too.
but,
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or input today?
And, well, I can go over some of the other
Sure, please do. We've got-
bullet points, I guess. So some of it is going through, like, what do you do when the case of a failing retaining wall, and how can you actually enforce it? So that's something I want to discuss with an attorney. You know, we have, like, the first one I almost had to deal with was because a retaining wall fell over onto the city sidewalk. And then I think it's hard to enforce, like, who is responsible even for cleaning it up off the sidewalk and things like that. And how can we make it actually enforceable, like, in the code or per state statutes versus just saying in the policy, like, the homeowner is responsible for doing it, but, like, can we actually enforce that? So it's trying to work through those details. The retaining wall inspection, so currently right now, like, we are the ones inspecting the retaining walls, just kind of like a building inspector is inspecting a home construction. And it's just been a lot of effort and a lot of time and, you know, a lot of liability in our mind. So I want to look at writing something about having the engineer of the wall, like, kind of sign off on it, and we're not having to go back multiple times to try to inspect certain things about the retaining wall. Like, it should fall on the person trying to build the wall.
Right.
And maybe we just get, like, a letter of approval that it was built per plan type of thing. So limiting our staff time on that. And then a lot of details on the fall protection are kind of missing. So this is a hard one too, where not everyone wants to just put up a chain link fence, or you don't see the type of fence you need to put on a deck on top of a retaining wall. So it's like, what we are going to require along a right of way or even on private property? So kind of diving into the codes of fall protection, you know, landscaping versus an actual fence. What is that? Like, per building code for decks, you can't have an opening more than 4 inches. And so even should that apply to retaining walls? Like even the one on Second Street, that just has almost to me a handrail. It has, you know, openings this big on a wall that's like 20 feet tall. So just like details on that I think can provide more guidance from a safety perspective and just from, what in our ordinance.
Thank you.
So, those are kind of the high level other edits we're looking at.
So we'll review this with city attorney and just probably carry it forward to a future Public Works Committee meeting for a deeper discussion,
And
lengthier
then you
discussion.
guys can dive in, read it in detail.
Okay.
Go over Christmas break, right? Just-
That's right. That's right.
Studying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you for all your thoughtful assessment there from all the staff. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Next item, 5D, under new business, approve the 2026 Public Works Committee meeting schedule.
Yeah, so the council will be discussing the meeting schedule for 2026 later on this evening. We got the date, so Deb went ahead and put together a calendar for the Public Works Committee, which is attached to the agenda. So staff is recommending approval of the 2026 schedule.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We got our work cut out for us next year. Okay, now under old business, discussion and possible action to approve the 2026 yard waste collection services.
Yeah, so I'll make it brief. Obviously, we've been talking about this for the last few months. Waste Management is no longer picking up biodegradable bags via the ticket system in 2026. And so we've been discussing various options and just looking for direction from the committee as far as what we want to provide as a city service in 2026 for curbside leaf collection.
Thanks for the additional information and for following up with Waste Management and finding out that if people did take the yard waste subscription, that they can put bags by that, the disposable or the biodegradable bags, and that would be part of the subscription process. I think that is a viable solution as long as Waste Management does honor that. And I feel like that's a comfortable alternative to direct people towards. If something changes with waste management, then I think we would need to do something different. But I do feel that this is an acceptable alternative. Would it be something that we could really communicate on our website just to make sure people understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Any decision that's made tonight, we would put the full court press on, so to speak, and put it on our website, probably do a news article on it when
Yeah.
it gets closer to spring, and
Spring.
then another one in the fall, at least for the first year or two, just to kind of remind residents of that option.
And one thing we did talk about too is that it's probably an annual subscription.
Yeah.
People can't just sign up for the pickup for the fall to get that cart.
Right.
So, but you had another comment though?
No,
Oh, okay. So are you suggesting that you don't think we would need to contract with an outside provider, landscape company or whatever?
Yes, I'm comfortable if we want to try this for a year and make sure that it really is a good alternative, heading forward in that direction and understanding that we might have to reevaluate it if something changes with waste management, or we hear from residents that that's not effective.
Mike,
Yeah, I
you have
agree with
input on
option
that?
number one. And Mike, thanks for chasing that down, because that was sort of a relief to say, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
And I believe that's good too. I probably said this last time. It's a service that some people use, some people don't. And I think as a group, we should always remember that, the city can't provide everything that everyone wants. So this is a good, for if you own a home, $135, it's another bill. I get that. But if you use a service, it's kind of the cost of having a home. And we do have options because we talked about that a lot. What if I have 19 bags of, leaves? Do I have to store them and hide them for, week after week? So this is sort of checks all the boxes for us. And yeah, if, we'll let Waste Management know that we appreciate this, and this is now this is kind of like the new bottom rung here. We gotta
Base
keep
level
this
service.
as part of the big program. So
Okay.
are you looking for
Yeah.
I'll move to approve option one.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that we would move forward just with the waste cart, that yard waste cart that Waste Management is offering for the yearly subscription cost of $135 a year is what we've been told. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I also all agreed. That is accepted. And again, thanks for all the work on it. I know you guys have done a lot of legwork on this. And so in this situation, then people will not be buying a sticker for an individual bag.
Correct.
If they want pickup, they need to do the cart or take a private.
Or call a
source-
contractor to come
private
pick them up
entity,
or take them themselves.
landscape
Yep.
company or something.
You got
Okay,
it.
thank you. All right, and I guess we'll work on getting the news out to people just before spring. Thank you. Okay, very good. Last item, yes, go ahead.
For sake of time, should we forego 7A and just,
Project update?
yeah.
Got 30
It's-
seconds.
It's just the facility.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do it real quick. So, obviously, been meeting with the contractor and construction management firm weekly. The latest is the interior improvements are set to be done before Christmas, so within the next 2 weeks. All the stuff on the inside is set to be done. The exterior improvements, like some of the pavement and second lift of pavement will be done, obviously, when the snow melts. The wall for the salt shed is set to be completed this week. The wall's being poured. So framing will start shortly thereafter, so they'll get after that. So it's coming along.
That's great.
Thank you.
Good news. Thank you. Okay, and then final, are there any communications that you want to share or items for future agenda? Right. Very
Move to
good.
adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.